Hello and welcome to my very first vlog. My name is Tinyla and I am doing this partially in obedience and partially because I have a passion for mothers and motherhood, and I just want to try to be an encouragement. Like I said, my name is Tinyla and I am a wife to Raymond Beckles. He's pastor of Lighthouse Baptist Church. I have 4 children. And then I have my sister's babies here with me, my kids are from 9 to 2, or 3, she just turned 3. And then her kids are 10 and 8, they just turned 8. So I homeschool 7 kids, ages 9 to 3, or excuse me, 10 to 3. And I have been doing so since the very first one. In 2011. So who am I? Once again, I'm just a wife and a mom with a burden for motherhood, and I want to try to encourage as many people as I can. I'm not sure exactly how often I will be able to get on here and speak and try to encourage. I love the title Life Influencer, so I'm going to try to incorporate that. But to try to influence your life as the Lord gives me opportunity, I think it's important for us to, as women, to fill our cups early in the morning or whenever we can, and then pour onto our family those things that we put into us. And so as I have left over, I'm going to try to do that here on YouTube. You'll see me looking to the left because I have a few notes jotted down, but let me just tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a strong believer in Titus chapter 2. I'm going to read it so I don't misquote anything. Titus chapter 2 verse 4 and 5 says that they may teach the young women to be sober, to love their husbands, to love their children, to be discreet, chaste, keepers at home, good, obedient to their own husbands, that the word of God be not blasphemed. So that's my mission, is to learn as much as I can about those attributes that God has put in His Word, and then to encourage women in those aspects. So when I was about 12 years old, some bus workers came and knocked on our door and asked my mother if it would be okay if we rode the bus to school. At that time I had 3 siblings, so there was 4 of us, and Mom was like, "Sure, come get them." And so we rode the bus to church. And I got saved. And when I tell you that I got saved, I accepted the Lord Jesus into my life. And when I accepted Him, my personality type is, when I decide to do something, I go full force into it. And so when I got saved, and I wanted God to be in everything in my life. And I was very faithful at church. And I think some people saw that in me, and they asked me if I wanted to go to the Christian school. And I said, yeah. So I went home and I told my mom that I was going to go to the Christian school. This is in the middle of the semester, this is the end of the year, my 8th grade year. And I just didn't show up at public school. Started going to Christian school. Then that summer I continued to go to church. And the next year, my freshman year of school, there I was, the full year. Actually, I think it was the end of my 8th grade year. And then 9th through when I graduated, I went to the Christian school. Somewhere around my sophomore year, I was invited to go to the Ivory Coast, West Africa, and to participate in a missions trip. And at that time, I didn't know any sign language, American Sign Language. And I went over there with some missionaries who were ministering primarily to the deaf there and orphans and things like that. So I was able to witness the time when they had already been visiting specific young people who were deaf in the villages there. And so I was there the day that the light came on, and they realized that this picture of scissors and this hand motion really had a connection. And this young lady, her name was Genevieve, began to run and get things around the house and come back and ask for the sign. She was so hungry. And so every Saturday we'd go back and teach her new things. I say we loosely because I didn't know anything. I just sat there and watched. But anyway, so I came back home with a renewed passion for Christ, and I surrendered to go wherever God wanted me to. And I just knew it was going to be back to the Ivory Coast. So finally I finished high school. I went to college. I learned to sign. And during this time, I learned to do as much as I can because I wanted to be the best at anything that God called me to. I wanted to be fully equipped. So I learned to sign. I took Spanish. I took French. I took piano lessons. I mean, whatever I could do, I wanted to learn and to be proficient in those things. So, but then came my senior year of college, and the Ivory Coast closed. All the missionaries, all the Americans were told to leave because there was this big war. And so I'm thinking, well, what am I going to do now? I pretty much trained my whole life, it felt like, to go back and do this thing. And an opportunity came for me to go and teach. And why I don't say a man came along and I got married, well, I wasn't looking for a man, and I wasn't really, people were showing interest, but I wasn't, digging it. And so when this opportunity came for me to go and work with these kids, I did. I was already working with special needs children, nonverbal children, autistic children, and but I thought here in this area, this school invited me to come and teach, and that's a long story that I'll say for another day, but they invited me to come and teach, and I did. And right before I started that job, I went to a conference on evangelizing Black America called COBA. There I met this man named Raymond. And as I said, I was not interested in marriage. I prayed for my husband kind of loosely, but I didn't really think that would happen for me. I just didn't see any prospect, and so I just kind of didn't think about it very much. But I was the transportation. So the single ladies that were with me said, we're going to this singles ladies meeting and you're going to have to take us. So I went, and while there, this guy in this, he wore his uniform. I think he was in the Navy or something. He came and opened my door, and he was a tall, dark, and handsome guy. And I thought, well, I might have to rethink this thing. And so, but once we got into the restaurant, he just talked. I don't know if I said 10 words the whole time. And at the end of the time, this guy, Raymond, came to me, and he said, hey, can I have your number? And I looked at the other guy, and I looked at him, and I said, sure. And I gave him my number, and just wanted this other guy to know, I'm not interested, but thank you. So about 3 weeks later, he called, and we talked, and to make a long story short, we ended up getting married. And at the time, he was the assistant pastor at a church in North Carolina, and I was the teacher. I finished my year, and then I moved to North Carolina. We got married, and about 2 years later, I had my firstborn child, Aaliyah. She's precious, and then we served there for about 2 years, and we got a call inviting us to come to where we are now in Arkansas, and we moved to Arkansas. So that's how I got saved, how I got married, then how I became a homeschooling mom. Now, first and foremost, it took us 2 years to get pregnant, and we had actually started to pursue adoption. We took the classes to foster and adopt because I thought something was wrong, and but it's, as I've heard it happen so often, as soon as you start the process to adopt or whatever, then you get pregnant. And that's what happened to me, and so I started to teach my daughter as time went on, and I really didn't seriously think I would be a homeschooling mom forever, but I did want to teach my daughter to read. And so I began teaching her to read, and then Cassidy came along, my second born daughter, and then she started to learn as I was teaching Aaliyah. And then Raymond Deshawn, my son, came along, and I just never stopped homeschooling. And I love it. I wouldn't have it any other way. The schools in our area is just two schools. And as I watch the other children and I see my kids, and I just thought to myself, I want to be able to shape and mold them and have more influence than those kids do over my kids. So I know that friends and all that kind of stuff, they have a big influence, at least mine did, on shaping us. So I wanted to be their primary influencer. And my husband was all for it. At the time, we weren't spending much money because we were broke. But and anyway, we were broke, so I would just use my resources at the library. and we would use whatever God gave us. I found some Hooked on Phonics here. I went to Goodwill and found things there. And then I became a homeschooling mom. And just to wrap this up, what is the purpose of me beginning this blog? Well, it's to encourage you, mom, you woman, you young lady, to whatever your life is going to become, whatever you're going to be, whatever God has called you to do, equip yourself and then do it with the best of your ability. I hope that God will use me to encourage you to, if you're going to be a mom, be the best mom you can be. If you're going to have to be, if you're a single mom, be the best single mom that you can be. If you are a career mom or whatever you want to call it, whatever you are, be the best that you can be. Show kindness to your children. Love your husband. Do all those things, and you will be a happy person. So once again, I'm Tinyla Beckles. I want to try to influence you, as others of you have influenced me on YouTube, to be the best version of myself possible. I love that title, Life Influencer. If you will allow me to try to pour into your life, influence your life so that it could be better than whatever it is today. Okay, until next time, thank you for watching. Bye-bye.